Hello and welcome to revision classes on television. Today we will be having a session in mathematics. Our guide is Rafiat Yusuf and our topic today is quadratic equation.
So we are still going to be treating quadratic equation today. I have some questions being picked from 2015 all through to 2019 WAEC past questions. So question number 1, I have given that 2 and minus 3 are the root of the equation. The equation ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. Find the value of a, b, and c. Now we have a question like this. You know that this ax squared plus bx plus c is our quadratic equation. Our quadratic equation is always in this form. So the question says you are to find the value of a, b, and c, which means the value of a, which is the coefficient of x squared, the value of b, which is the coefficient of x, and your c, which is the constant. That is what you are asked to find. So how do we get that? We have been given the root of the equations as 2 and minus 3. So we know that if you are given the root of the equation, we can use the roots to find the quadratic equation out. That's what we are going to do here. If our equations, the roots are 2 and minus 3, it means x is equals to 2 and x is equals to minus 3. Now, bringing 2 to this other side so that we can equate it to 0, we have x minus 2 equals to 0. Also here, this will be x. Bringing minus 3 to this side, it becomes plus 3 equals to 0. Now, because we are trying to get an equation out of this, we will have to match them together, multiply them together. So I have x minus 2 with x plus 3 all equals to 0. So opening up this bracket, we have x with this bracket, x plus 3. Then the second number in the first bracket is minus 2. You multiply it with the second bracket, x plus 3 all equals to 0. Now we try to open up your bracket. That is x times x, x squared. X times plus 3, you have plus 3x. Minus 2 times x, minus 2x. Minus 2 times plus 3, we give minus 6, all equals to 0. Now we have the like terms here are plus 2, plus 3, and minus 2x. So collecting, evaluating this, we have x squared, the plus 3 minus 2 will give you plus 1. That's x plus x, and you have your minus 6, all equals to 0. Now, looking at this, we have our quadratic equation completely. This is in this form. The question now is, what is the value of a, b, and c? So from this quadratic equation now, we know that our a is the coefficient of x squared. So what is the coefficient of x squared here? It is 1. So that means your a is 1. For b is the coefficient of x, which is plus 1. The coefficient of x here is plus 1. So our b is also 1. Then our c is the constant, which is minus 6. So the value of c here is minus 6. So we have solved for a, b, and c as our final answer. Question number 2. Solve the equation. Two x squared minus x minus 6 equals to 0. You see this question? We are not giving any specific method to use. They just ask you to solve the equation, but we know that it is a quadratic equation. So since we are not giving a particular method to use, you can use any method. So say I have not solved with a factorization method, so I would like us to use factorization method to solve. So we know how to use factorization method. So using factorization method, you see, the factorization method is all about factors. That is, if you have 2x squared minus x minus 6 all equals to 0, you will use the coefficient of x squared to multiply the constants like this. You multiply them together. That is 2 times minus 6 will give you minus 12x squared. Now, it is this minus 12x squared that will look for the factors of this 12. Like, write out the factors of 12. Let me quickly write out the factors of 12. I know 12, we have 2. We have 3. 3 is a factor of 12. We have 4. We have 6. And we have 12 itself, which is, we know that 1 is a common factor. Now, if we are looking for 2 factors out of these factors, such that if we multiply the 2 factors together, it gives minus 12. And if you add or subtract, it gives this coefficient of x here, which is minus 1. So now, if I pick 4 and 3, I want to try it out before you can put it in. Let's try it to confirm that these factors you are picking will actually fit in. That's if I pick 3 and 4. 3 and 4 as the factors I want to use. You check 3 times 4 will give you 12. It's not giving minus 12. Then if I say 3 plus 4, or let me say 4 minus 3, I will have 1, not minus 1. So I need to look at the sign. I mean, either I put a positive or the negative sign, such that if I put this sign, it will fit into this. If I put minus to this 3 and I put plus to this 4, let me try and check. If I have minus 3 times plus 4, that will give me minus 12, right? Okay, that one is correct. Now, minus 3 plus 4, will it give me minus 1? No, it will not give me minus 1. So it means this my sign is not correctly done. Let me interchange. If I put plus here and I put minus here, you also check that. Plus 3 times minus 4 will give minus 12. That's correct. Now, plus 3 minus 4. Plus 3 minus 4, you know it will give minus 1. Now, this is the factors that we are looking for. Now, we go ahead and replace these factors. That's the plus 3 and minus 4 with the middle number here. So, doing that, I have 2x squared plus 3x minus 4x, then minus 6 equals to 0. All we did is just replacing these factors with the middle number here. Now, we can now pair this, like you can pair them so that you can factor out the common factors. As we have paired them now, look at this. This is the first pair. Let's check what are the common factors here. I mean, when they say common factors, what can you see in this and also see here? Okay, this is 2, but this 3 here is not a factor of 2. 2 cannot go in 3. So we cannot factor out any number here, but there's a common factor which is x. You can see x here, you can see x here. So let me factor out x. So if I factor out x, you open a bracket. Use this x to divide this 2x. That means x will cancel 1x. You are left with one of the x. So you have 2x left here. I have my plus. Use this 3. If the 3x divide this x, that's the x will cancel this x. You are left with what? 3. So you have 3. So you have factor out this. Now you come to this side. What is the common factor? We have minus minus. You can even factor out minus is common there. This is 4, this is 6. What number can divide 4 and also divide 6? Is 2. So if you factor out 2. But you see this x here is not common because there's no x in this 6. So we cannot bring out that x. So rather that means our common factor here is just minus 2. So you open the bracket. Now use the minus 2 to divide this minus 4x. The minus and minus will go and it turns to plus. 2 in 4 will give you 2 and your x. So here you are left with 2x. Now, minus 2 divided by minus 6. Also, minus, we cancel minus to turn to plus. Then you have 2 in 6 will give you 3. So here will be plus 3. All equals to 0. Now, you pick the numbers outside, which is x and minus 3. You put them in the bracket. X and minus 2. Sorry, it's x and minus 2. Then you notice that this bracket, they are the same thing. They are common. So you just pick one out of it. You cannot use the 2, just pick one. When you solve and you realize that you don't have the same thing inside the bracket, you will check your working. There has to be something, maybe there's an error you have committed while you are solving. So it's very, very necessary for you, if you are factorizing and you discover that the bracket, you are getting different numbers, you check your working. So now we see that they are the same. Just pick one of it, which is 2x plus 3. Now all equals to 0. Then you now pick them one after the other. The bracket, I have x minus 2 equals to 0. That's the first bracket. I have 2x plus 3 equals to 0. So here we can just get the value of x. That's x, bringing plus minus to the other side, it becomes 0 plus 2. That's x is equals to 2. To get the second aspect, which is the second side, we have 2x equals, taking plus 3 to the other side, you have 0 minus 3. Now we have 2x equals to minus 3. Dividing both sides by 2, divide by 2, we have x equals to minus 3 over 2. You cannot leave your final answer in improper fraction. Or it's either you leave it as a decimal or you simplify further, making it as a mixed fraction. So this is an improper fraction. If you simplify, we have minus 2 in 3 will give you 1, remainder 1 over 2. Or you write your answer in decimal, which is minus 1.5. So finally, you can have your x to be, that's therefore x is equals to 2, or x equals minus 1 whole number 1 over 2, or x equals minus 1.5. So question number 3, we have using completing the square method, solve correct to 2 decimal places the equation (3y squared minus 5y plus 2 equals to 0. So this is a quadratic equation we are asked to solve. But remember that it has been specified here to use completing the square. Please take note. If you have been given a particular method to use, do not differ, because if you differ, nobody will mark this for you. It's strictly said use completing the square. So please, you must use completing the square. Now, using completing the square method, we have the first thing you take note when you want to use completing the square, you make sure that the coefficients of the squared part is equals to 1. So looking at this question, we find out that the coefficient of y squared here is 3, is not equals to 1. So we have to make it to be 1. So that is, to make that to be 1, we divide all through by this coefficient, which is 3. So dividing all through by 3, you have minus 5 over 3y plus 2 over 3 all equals to 0. If you do 0 divide by 3, will still give you 0. So this will now cancel. Now we have the coefficient of y squared to be 1. This cannot go. We leave it as a fraction there, 5 over 3y, then plus 2 over 3, all equals to 0. The next thing is taking your constant to the right-hand side. Taking your constant to the right-hand side, this is our constant, the 2 over 3. We have y squared minus 5 over 3y equals, this is y, equals, taking this becomes minus 2 over 3. Now the next step is where you apply the real completing the square we're talking about. That is taking the coefficient of y, which is minus 5 over 3. That's minus 5 over 3 is our coefficient of y. You will multiply it by half, then you square it and add it to both sides. So this is the coefficient of y, which is minus 5 over 3. You multiply by half. This gives me 5 times 1, I have 5. 3 times 2, I have 6. You see, I've multiplied by half. Then I will square it, like put it square, then add it to both sides. So this is what I'm going to be adding to these two sides here. I have y squared minus 5y over 3. Then I have plus, I'm adding, plus, then the bracket now is minus 5 over 6, all squared, equals, you also add it to the constants on the other side. Your constant is minus 2 over 3. Then you add the minus 5 over 6 squared. That is it. So having done that, you pick the square. That's the y. You see this y and this minus 5 over 6 are the square. So you put minus 5 over 6. Now put it in squared. You have equals, I have minus 2 over 3. Then plus, if you take the square of minus 5, it means minus 5 times minus 5, which will give you minus times minus is plus. 5 times 5 is 25. So here we have a positive now. So this is now 25 over 6 squared means 6 times 6. We know 6 squared, 6 times 6. That's minus 6 times minus 6 will also give you plus 36. So here I have 25 over 36. Now, we still leave this side and solve this fraction part. That's y minus 5 over 6 all squared. Now, you have a fraction. You know how to solve your fraction. That's, you get the LCM of your denominator. That's 3 and 36. The LCM, 3 can go in 36, so we can pick 36 as our LCM here. 3 in 36 will give you what? 12. 12 times 2. Don't forget your minus is still there. So 12 times minus 2, I have minus 24. Then 36 in 36 is 1. 1 times this 25 will give 25. Now, you have y minus 5 over 6 squared equals minus 24 plus 25 will give you 1. Just like you can write it as say 25 minus 24. That will give you 1. Though I have 1 over 36 in this side. Now, we can now take, to cancel our square, you can take square roots of both sides. Take square roots of both sides. That's, if you square roots of both sides, the square roots will cancel this square. Then if you take the square roots of this side, it becomes plus or minus square roots of 1 over 36. But the square root will cancel the square that is here. So we are left with only y minus 5 over 6. The square is gone. Is equals to plus or minus the square root of 1 over 36. Now, the square root 1 minus 5 over 6 is equals plus or minus the square root of 1 will still give you 1. And the square root of 36 is 6. So we can now take this minus 5 over 6 to the other side so that our y will become the subject of the formula here. Will become the subject. So we have 5 equals, taking minus 5 over 6 to the other side becomes plus 5 over 6. So I have 5 over 6 plus or minus 1 over 6. So now we know we are at the end we will get 2 values for your y. Getting 2 values, you use the plus, you also use the minus. So your y will become 5, let's use the plus first, plus 5 over 6 plus 1 over 6, or y equals 5 over 6 minus 1 over 6. So what is, this is the same denominator. So taking the fraction of this, you see that the denominators are the same. Just say 5 plus 1, that will give you, y here is 5 plus 1 is 6 over 6. So your y is equals to 1. Or we have y equals, the 5 minus 1 there is 4 over 6. You simplify, 2 here, 2, 2 here, 3. Now in decimal, we have 3 into, that's 0.6. Still have 6, you still have 6. Is a continuous recurring decimal. So But the question says to 2 decimal places, find the value. So that means our y, this is not in decimal, so we can leave our y as 1, or y is equals to, make this to be in 2 decimal places, we have 0.67, because the number after the second, the decimal place, is more than 5. It will add 1 to this and become 7. Now our final answer is y equals to 1 or y equals 0.67. Question 4. Factorize completely the expression. The expression x plus 2 squared minus 2x plus 1 squared. This is not really a quadratic, it's not an equation because it is not equals to anything, it's not equals to 0, but you can say it's a quadratic expression. So to factorize this, you have, let us try to open up the bracket. This is x plus 2 squared, which will give you x plus 2 and another x plus 2. When you have a power of 2, it means you write it twice. With this minus 2x plus 1, 2x plus 1. I'm putting it in bracket because this negative sign belongs to this 2 bracket. Now let's try to open up the bracket. X times x, we have x squared. X times 2, we have 2x. 2 times x, we have 2x. Then 2 times 2, we have 4. We have opened this bracket. Opening the second bracket, 2x times 2x, we have 4x squared. 2x times 1, we have 2x. 1 times 2x, we have 2x. Then 1 times 1, we have 1. Then we still have a bracket to open with this negative sign, which will give x squared. You can evaluate this. 2x plus 2x will give 4x plus 4. Then use the negative to open up this bracket. Minus 4 times 4x will give minus 4x squared. Minus times plus will give minus 2x. Minus 2x. Then minus plus is minus. Then minus plus is minus 1. With this, we continue evaluating. We have x squared plus 4x plus 4 minus 4x squared minus 2x will give minus 4x, then minus 1. We can collect like terms from here, which is x squared. Which one has x squared again? The minus 4x. So I have minus 4x squared. Then I have plus 4x. This other one is minus 4x. Then we have plus 4 and minus 1. We have collected like terms. Now from here, x squared minus 4x squared, we give minus 3x squared. We have plus 4x minus 4x. Plus 4x minus 4x becomes 0. Then that means our x, this x is gone. We have plus 4 minus 1, which will give you plus 3. We can rewrite this, bringing the positive to the front as 3 minus 3x squared. Then we can factor out what is common. That's what is common here is 3. In brackets, we are left with 3 in 3. We have 1. This 3, we cancel this 3. We are left with minus x squared. We can further simplify using our difference of 2 squared. When you have a perfect square with another perfect square, you will use difference of 2 squared. So this, we know 1 is our first perfect square. So we have 3. This now becomes 1 minus x and 1 plus x. If you open up this, you should get this back. So this gives us our final answer. We have factorized completely.
can subscribe to NTA series on YouTube to watch or download past episodes of revision classes on television. That's the much we can take on the program today. Do join us next time for another educating session.